Hi guys, thanks for stopping by my channel today. On this video, I'm going to show you how I use my Glowforge to make these cute acrylic bat earrings. Now I have everything laying out here that I used except for my Glowforge and my computer, and so I'll show you everything I'm going to use in just a minute. Now, the way I'm going to make these is I'm going to find a bat image online, drag it to my desktop, bring it into Inkscape, cut it on my Glowforge. When I'm done with that, I'll add the hardware and I'll have a new pair of earrings just like these to give away. Now, just a couple of housekeeping items. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so, and then make sure you tap that bell and let YouTube know you want to be notified for all new videos I upload. And then second of all, if you're interested in buying a Glowforge, I have a discount link in the description of this video. Now, in addition to you receiving a discount, I receive a referral fee. Glowforge doesn't let me know who you are, so I can't send you a proper thank you, but I truly appreciate it. So here's the items that I'm going to use for my bat earrings. Now this is a piece of acrylic. I cut a license plate frame out of it recently, and then I used the waste from the inside of the license plate frame to make my first pair of earrings. Now this is a shiny black acrylic. I got this off of Amazon, and it cuts beautifully in the Glowforge. So check out the video description if you want a link to that product. Now after I cut my acrylic out, I'm going to add some jump rings to my earrings, some fishhook hardware to my earrings, and then I'll connect the two with some chain. You can buy chain on a card like this. I happen to just have an old chain that I put in this, and I'm going to use part of it. The reason I'm using it instead of this, the links on this were so small that I couldn't get the loops of my fish hooks to go through it. So if you buy some chain, make sure the links have a decent size. Now to cut my chain off, I can either just use some needle nose pliers and pull on it. It'll loosen one of the links up, then you can release the segment that you want from the other, or you could use some wire cutters. Then to put all my hardware together, I'll probably just use this little pair of needle nose pliers. I think I got these at Harbor Freight for like $1.99 or $2.99. Very, very inexpensive. I am also going to use a toothpick in this video, and I'll just show you that later. Kind of hard to explain. What I want to do now is go ahead and get on my computer, show you how to search for an image, import it into Inkscape, and then save it as a cut file. The first thing I'm going to do is search for free Halloween bat. Then I'll click on images, and you have a lot of different things to choose from. Now on a Mac, once you find your image, all you do, you drag it to your desktop. If you're on a PC, I think you're going to do a right click and then save as. Now this isn't the exact bat, but it's very, very close. Then I'll go ahead and open Inkscape. Inkscape is a free design software. It does have a little bit of a learning curve, but if you just take some YouTube videos, slowly learn the basics, this is a very, very useful program. So to get the bat into Inkscape, you go to File, Import. Then I saved my image as bat PNG. So I'll select it, then click Open. Now on this screen, I just leave the default settings alone and I say OK. Now to prepare this for a cut file, I want to make it a lot larger. But first, I want to go ahead and lock the proportion. Then I can drag a corner, and the height and the width will change proportionately. Now let me show you a little something really quickly. Even though my proportions are locked, if I drag it from the side, it still stretches it. So to utilize that lock function, you need to drag it from a corner. Okay, right now, all this is a rectangle. If I put this over the side, you cannot see through that white. That is not a clear background. To make this into a cut file, to actually cut the bat, we need to get rid of that background. Now, I want to go ahead and get this kind of straightened up before I move on. Right now, it's selected. If I click again, notice the arrows in the corners. So selected once, you get straight arrows. Selected again. Then you can grab one and you can turn this. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now it is still selected. With it selected, I'm going to go up to Path, Trace Bitmap. With a very plain black and white image like this, on single scan, I can just leave these default settings alone and click OK. You get a little preview here, but all I need to do is hit the red X. Then I can drag off my new image. And I can tell this is my new one by two ways. First of all, look, you can see the line of my template behind it, so you know that's a clear background. And then the other thing is, if it's something you could use as a cut file, when you go over here to these nodes tool, we'll click on it, you have all these little path nodes that light up. Let me go back to the select tool, go on my old image. Notice it covers up the line. It's not a transparent background. And when I click on the nodes tool, there's no nodes. So that's the old one. I can just get rid of it. To delete it, I'll select it. Here's my select tool. And then on my keyboard, I'm just hitting delete. Okay, so this is a good image to work with now, except that look, it's 11 inches wide. I want mine to be about 2 1/4 inches wide, so I'll change the width to 2.25. If yours is not in inches, you can click this down arrow and change it 2 inches. Now so we can see this, let me zoom in. To do that, you hold the shift down and click the plus button. Look, I accidentally changed it to pixels. So I'll go ahead and I'll change that back to inches. So right now it's 2 1/4 inches wide by about 1 inch tall. And I like those dimensions. Now what I do want to do though is straighten it up. Notice this wing is at the top, this one is not. So I'm going to click it again. Then I can turn that just a little bit so they're both even at the top. So to finish up, I'm going to do 2 more things. I'm going to add some little holes that my jump rings will go through. And then I'm going to add a couple of little holes to act as eyes. I thought about putting rhinestones on for eyes, but I decided to just let the Glowforge cut the eyes out. So for the holes for the hardware and the eyes, I'm going to use circles. So I'm going to click on my circle tool. And I can just drag here. Now it defaults to whatever the last color was that I used on something. And so mine happened to be this blue. I'm going to change it to red. I think that'll be easier to work with. Now to do anything to this circle, I need to select it. The select tool's right here. Now I can see the dimensions are 0.063 wide by 0.067 tall. So it's not a perfect circle. To get a perfect circle, I'm going to unlock the dimensions, and then I just want my circle to be 0.05. So I'll type that in both the width and the height. And now I'll go ahead and lock those dimensions. I can just drag it down to the wing. And I think that looks pretty good. I'll select it. To make another one, I hit Command-C for copy, Command-V for paste. And then once the little cross arrows show up, I can drag that one. Okay, I'm going to get it in about the same place, but there's a couple things I can do to make sure that's really perfect. First of all, with this one already selected, I hold the Shift key down and select the other one. Now my Align and Distribute panel is already open. If it's not, after you select your 2 items, go up to Object and down to Align and Distribute, and that will open up this panel here. So I want them equal distances from the top, so I'm going to click on this center on horizontal axis. So let's see if either of those moves. Okay, they did a little bit. Now they are equal distances from the top. The second thing I need to do is get them centered up on the bat. Before I can do that though, I want to join these 2 items together. So I'm going to group them. They are still both selected. So I'll go to Object and Group. Now you can see it's just one item. Now I did go to the back. So let's go to Object and raise to top, and we can see them again. Now there's two ways I can do this next step. With those selected, I can hold the Shift button down and add the bat to it. The other way that I could do it is I could just drag my cursor around everything, and that selects everything. So to get my two circles centered on the bat, now I'm going to use this right here. I'm going to center my grouped circles on the vertical axis. So with the bat and the circles selected, I click this, and notice it moved the circles over a little bit to the right. So there should be equal distance from this one on the right to this edge of the wing, and the one on the left to this edge of the wing. So I'm done with those circles. I just need to add a couple of eyes. Once again, I'm going to click on my circles tool. Now for this one, I want these really tiny. I dragged a little circle. I'm sure it's not perfectly round. Let me select it and see. Okay, it's not. So I need to unlock the proportions. Now yours may be defaulted to unlock, so you just have to check that. And then I'm going to make these 0.04 by 0.04. Now that it's a perfect circle, I'll go ahead and lock those proportions. All right, let's drag this down into the area for the eye. With it still selected, I'm going to do Command C for copy, Command V for paste, and then I'll just drag this one over about where I want it. I think those eyes should be a little closer together. Okay, that looks pretty good, but we're going to do those same two steps. We're going to align them so they're equal distances from the top. We'll group them, and then we'll center them on the bat. So I'm going to select one, hold Shift, select the other, come right over here and center them on the horizontal axis. Now I don't know if they moved. They might have been pretty close to perfect already. Now I go to Object. They're both still selected, so I'll group them together. Now I can drag my cursor around everything once again, center on the vertical axis, and I'll bet you see those eyes go a little bit to the right. Okay, so I'm done with my bat, and I'm going to go up here and say File, Save As. I'm going to change it from an Inkscape SVG to a plain SVG. I just feel like that might have more flexibility to be able to use it anywhere I want. I'm saving it to my projects file, and then I will call it Bat Earrings New. I think I might have an old one already saved. Now some of you might be wondering, why didn't I just have these circles and these circles cut out of my black? I like to take things into Glowforge in layers. And when we get into the Glowforge interface, I'll tell you why. So here's the dashboard of my Glowforge software. You can see here's my old bat earrings, but I'm going to show you all the steps. So I'm going to click on Create, Upload from File, and then Bat Earrings New. I'll upload that. Okay, here's my file. Before I go any farther though, I want to go turn my Glowforge on and put my acrylic on the bed of the Glowforge. Now notice it says focusing, so it's on. The camera is doing its thing, and pretty soon it's going to pick up my acrylic on the bed of the Glowforge. Now we can see where my material is on the bed of my Glowforge. So I'm just going to drag my bat over, and then I'll go ahead and rotate that. Then I'll just try to drag it closer to the other two so I waste less material. Now before I get too far in this, I want to go up here to these three dots, click on those and say Set Focus, and then I'll put the focus of the camera right here where my bat is. So the camera's refocusing, I can hear it doing its thing. Then you saw it jump, it recalibrated, and it looks like I need to move my bat just a little bit away from the other one. Okay, so to get my second earring, I'm going to hit Command C for copy, Command V for paste. Then I have to select it, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it and see if I can't fit it pretty close to the other earring. Okay, I think I'll go with that right there. Now I need to tell Glowforge what settings to use. For my material, I go up here to Unknown, click on that. Here's all of the Glowforge proof grade materials right here. Now, proof grade material comes from Glowforge. It usually has a QR code somewhere down in the corner. The camera of the Glowforge reads that code and it sets your settings for you. I know from doing test cuts that this acrylic cuts beautifully on this medium clear acrylic setting, so I'm going to go ahead and select that. At this point, the Glowforge thinks I want to engrave both layers of this design, and I don't. So what I need to do is I need to click on one layer and tell the Glowforge I want this to cut. And you can see the lines change to red, and those are cut lines. I'll go to my other layer, click on it. Once again, I'll tell the Glowforge I want to cut this layer as well. Now, I told you that I like to bring things in as separate layers, and here's why. If you bring them in as separate layers, you can manipulate what cuts first and what cuts second. I always like my detailed things to cut first, so I'm going to drag those little holes up to the top. If I wasn't using a Glowforge setting, this medium clear acrylic, then in addition to telling the Glowforge I want to cut it, I'd have to come down here to manual, and then I'd pick a speed and a power. But since I know this cuts on the Glowforge settings for medium clear acrylic, I don't need to do that. So the next step for me is to come over here and click print. Now the Glowforge has decided it's going to take about 43 seconds to cut my 2 earrings, and then it's giving me a warning down here that it didn't find proof grade material. That's because there's no QR code in there, but that's okay. So let's go into the Glowforge and we'll watch these cut. I want to go ahead and remove the masking paper from this acrylic. Now, masking paper, as I understand it, is safe in a Glowforge, but if anything you get comes with a plastic liner, you need to make sure that's laser safe before you put that in the Glowforge. I have a huge roll of masking paper that I got off of Amazon, and anytime I get something that's not masked, or it's masked with something plastic, I go ahead and replace that with the paper masking. Now to make these, I need 2 pieces of this chain. My chain on these was 3 inches long. I think I'll go with more like 2.5 inches. And this doesn't have to be exact. I'm just going to use an approximate 2.5 inches. The way I usually break mine apart is I just grab it with my needle nose pliers and I pull on it. And what that does is it pulls apart one of the links. So one of these links is a throwaway. And it looks like it's this one right here. I can see where that one is opened up. So I just want to make sure I take that off and throw that away. Okay, that's pretty close. Then in addition to my chain, for each earring I'm going to need one of these fish hooks, and I like to use sterling silver. I think that's healthier for my ears. And then for each earring I'll need 2 of these jump rings. Now these are 6mm jump rings, and I just got all of this off of Amazon with the exception of this chain. So here's how I do these earrings. I take a jump ring, I find the opening in the jump ring, I grab as much of the jump ring that I can to keep it from getting out of shape, and then I can do one of 2 things. I can either grab it with my hand and twist it, which is what I'm going to do here, or I could use a tool. You could use another needle nose pliers, or they do have these jump ring tools. Let me grab mine. Well, darn it, that is unfortunate. I can't find it, but I'll flash it on the screen now so you can see what I'm talking about. It's a little ring with some slits in it, and it really does save your fingers. Okay, so I have my jump ring and I twisted it open. Notice I twisted to the side. I didn't pull it apart. Whoops. You want to do that to maintain the integrity and the shape of your jump ring. So what I've found is it's easiest for me to go ahead and put the chain on first. Then after I have that chain on there, I'm just going to slip this jump ring through one of the holes in the bat wings. Now I'm just going to do the reverse of what I did before, but instead of using my fingers, I'm going to use a second needle nose pliers, and then I'll twist those back together. Now mine looks pretty good. If they're not closed tightly, you can squeeze it together a little bit here like this, but be really careful because you can misshape these really easily. So on my second jump ring, the opening is right here. So I can take a second set of needle nose pliers, since I can't find my jump ring tool, and just twist it. It twisted open. Now I'm just going to place this on the other end of my chain and then slide it onto the other hole. Then I twist that closed, and that one does have a little gap, so I'll close it up. Now once again, that toothpick is going to come in handy because I'm going to pull my chain straight up, trying to find the middle link. Okay, that looks pretty good right there. So I'm just going to keep track of which one that is. Now what I should have done before I did that was open the loop on one of my fish hooks. Just like the jump rings, you grab onto it with your needle nose pliers and twist sideways. Okay, so that's ready. I found my middle link. Now, it doesn't matter which is the front and which is the back on these. So I'm just going to put the loop of my fish hook through that center link. Now before I close that up, I just want to have a reality check, make sure that looks pretty much in the middle. So the last thing that I need to do is just close this up. And there we have our first little bat earring. They are so cute. So I'm going to put this second one together, and then I'll show you a picture of them at the end. Thanks so much for joining me and sticking it out all the way to the end. Until my next video. Bye-bye.